Greetings. It's just January 31st, 2016. Before I hit the stop button on my iPod here, I'm going to walk over and just kind of stand, or actually sit next to it, just to give viewers a sense of scale of how large this drawing is. This was done in 1993, drawing of Rubinstein, the mime, Letz in Yiddish, of the Warsaw Ghetto, who was murdered at the Treblinka death camp, mass murder camp in Poland in fall 1942. Back in the 1990s, when I used to get asked if this was my favorite, which was my favorite drawing in the Under the Wing series, back then called the Under the Wings of God series, I would always, it was Rubinstein for some years. Later on in the 2000s, it was the drawing I did of the French surrealist poet and resistance writer of thousands of radio commercials, arts critic Robert Desnos, or in English pronunciation, Robert Desnos of France, born in 1900, who died after liberation at the Theresienstadt concentration death camp in Czechoslovakia. Rubinstein. According to the chief archivist who I had written, Marek Webb, who was born and raised in Poland, later immigrated to the United States. When I wrote him early fall of 1993, I asked him who was Rubinstein, what was his first name, where did he hail from? And they said no one knew his first name. He came from a Jewish village in the province around Warsaw. And he was seen yelling what Mr. Webb described as his famous slogan, "Alle gleich," all are equal. On the day he was ordered to report to the Umschlagplatz, the kind of railroad cars and railway siding adjoining one side of the ghetto, from which 200,000 ghetto prisoners were deported to the Treblinka extermination camp in August and around, I don't know, October, November 1942. And among other things, I've been wearing berets since I was in high school. 1960s was actually only, 20 years after World War II ended. Born and raised, as I describe it, in the shadow of World War II and the Holocaust, of that generation, boomers. And I also, at the time I did the drawing, I was living in Seattle's Pike Place Market, where there were frequently mime artists and musicians and so on, especially in the warm summer months. So I felt a certain kind of kinship with this man, who I remember I used to say would probably be astonished, if he could come back from the murdered and learn that an American Jewish artist speaking neither Popolsko or Yiddish, had depicted him in his honor and memory and restoration of dignity, which is a description I've used for many years about the drawings of the Under the Wing series. That wordage, by the way, restoration of dignity, came from a Shoreline High School history, social studies teacher, Andy Berkbigler, who attended the very first slide class presentation I gave, which was held in April 1994 at Covenant House Campus Christian Ministry, a couple blocks from the Hillel Jewish Student Center. That first presentation was arranged by now retired campus pastor Brooke Rolston, who I had met at Hillel in spring '92. And a little tangent there, but Andy Berkbigler, the teacher, wrote me that I had provided a way to honor and restore the dignity and memory of the victims without whatever, while doing so in a good way. I forget what the exact words were after that. So, thank you, Andy Burke-Bickler, and Brooke Rolston for having arranged that presentation, which got me going on teaching, which I've been doing ever since. Rubinstein. The wings were drawn in the ornithology lab at the Burke Museum at the University of Washington, Burke Museum of Natural History, where I drew wings between the first drawing done in late November, December 1991 of the Muranov Street trolley in the Warsaw Ghetto, and 2001 when I spent several months doing the 28 or so wings on the largest drawing in the series called Show of Dreams. I wasn't back there again until to draw wings until this past March or April 2015. I brought the 20th drawing of the Sightseeing with Dignity series up there and drew wings on the drawing of Elizabeth Blanche Olofio, a radio journalist in the Central African Republic, who was targeted by gunmen in 2013, died of her injuries a year later. And then this past fall, I brought the 22nd drawing up, and there are videos about each of these. A victim of America's genocide, the ongoing genocide for decades of gun violence. Abraham Issa, Zachariah Ibrahim Issa, a 20-year-old immigrant from Nairobi, I believe was Muslim, shot to death not very far from here, perhaps a mile or two, on July 31st, 2015. And his wings were also drawn at the Burke. So it's very important to me to interweave the mass murder of 10 million people by the Nazis and fascists during World War II with contemporary hate crimes, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and wars, most of whose victims in today's conflicts are children. There you have it. Thank you. I will also attach the URL of a excerpt from a PowerPoint presentation I presented at Forfar Academy, a state school in Angus, East Scotland, a few years ago, and that excerpt focusing on my talking about Rubinstein.